Inouye is one of the early innovators of pool skating. He's credited with the first wall ride back in 1974 on clay wheels, mind you, which is freaking insane. He's one of the first to get air on a vert on a skateboard back in 1976. He's had 7 magazine covers. He was one of the early pros for Sims, Nike, tracker trucks, and caster skateboards. He started Inouye Pool Service back in the day to drain pools and get paid to do it and then come skate them. In 1977, he was a runner-up for Skater of the Year. In 2019, he was a Skateboard Hall of Fame inductee. He currently represents Adidas, Ace Trucks, Bones, Air Blaster, The Kind, Union, and of course, Wally's Pepper Sauce, none other than Tom Wally Inouye. Wally, thank you for taking time to sit down with us.
How are you guys today?
We're doing good, man. How's quarantine going?
Quarantine's good, you know. It's nice to be at home, but gonna have a pretty good garden this year.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, so for those of you who are tuning into the recorded version of this, it is April 15th right now, so we're like a couple weeks into quarantine. So, yeah, it sounds like you've been doing lots of gardening.
Yeah, I've been making raised beds and planted some raspberries and blueberries and leeks and garlic and broccoli and all kinds of stuff.
Nice. For those of you, or for those out there who don't know, where are you located at right now?
I'm in Hood River.
Okay, Oregon.
I'm in Hood River, currently looking at Mount Adams.
Sick.
So.
Got a good view there.
So, yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Well, yeah, for those of you who are watching this live, feel free to go ahead and comment in any questions that you have as we're going through this. We'll be sure to try and get to as many of those as we can. And yeah, go ahead.
How you doing, Jamie?
Take time to ask a legend some questions.
I'm good, Wally. How are you?
I'm good.
On the talk.
Surviving?
Yeah, surviving.
Good, good.
You know?
Good to see your face.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been with my wife 24/7. She starts screaming.
Yeah, Jamie,
we're excited about this.
So much.
Super stoked. So, Wally, if you want, go ahead and just take it back to the beginning. When and where did you first start skateboarding?
Well, first time I stood on a skateboard was 1967. It actually was steel wheels. I grew up in Monterey Park in California, basically 15 miles east of Los Angeles, so kind of East LA, and it was pretty much just, you know, pushing down the sidewalk.
Were you guys like still making your own boards then, or were people like making their own boards, or was it like you would go and buy metal wheels?
Well, the way that I got it is that my parents bought my sister's clip-on roller skates from Sears, and but they couldn't afford to buy 3 sets, and so they had about 2 sets. And then my sister Gail decided to try and bomb down this hill on the sidewalk, and she ate shit and cracked her chin open. And so the next day, I found her roller skates in the trash. So I went over to my buddy's Jack Martin's house, and we kind of took turns fighting, you know, to try and roller skate. And then his dad said, well, you know, we could take the skates apart and put them on these 2x4s, and so you guys could each have one. So that's what mine was probably a 24-inch long 2x4 with metal skate wheels on them.
That's sick. How old were you then?
7 or 8.
Okay.
You know, so we would push down the sidewalk, and you hit the first crack, and then you would just eat shit. So it was kind of, and then we kind of rode it more in his backyard because he had the cement patio, and so we kind of just stinked around on it. But probably 1969 is when I really started skateboarding a bunch, because we all started surfing.
Okay.
And so we were 35 miles away from Huntington Beach, so if we weren't surfing, and I grew up, Monterey Park is just a bunch of hills, so we started skateboarding again and pretending like we were surfing, and those were the clay wheel days.
Who were you surfing with back in the day?
It was just all my buddies, Jack Martin, Pat Driscoll, Tim Bartholomew, and we would go to Huntington and see like Chewy and Bobby Nishi and Mike Purpose, and those were like the top surfers back then.
Yeah, because that's kind of right around the era of like I grew up watching like the Lords of Dogtown documentary, and that's kind of like around the same zone, around the same time, right?
No, well, Dogtown was more 1974.
Okay.
And so it definitely was called sidewalk surfing. So
Okay.
that's kind of what and since we grew up.
I like that whole same scene still.
Yeah, so when I grew up on hills, we would ride on the streets because there weren't that many cars, and so or we'd have driveways and then we'd get like those rotating sprinkler things.
Yeah.
We would tip it over so it would just make like this tube, and we'd get barreled under that and find trees and then we found
influence.
Yeah, and then we found banks and riverbeds. There was a bunch of riverbeds where I grew up, so we trying to start skating those on riverbeds on clay wheels.
Course, like riverbeds that were paved, or like
San Gabriel riverbed, or
okay, like the LA River kind of a thing.
Yeah, those kind of drainage ditches and banks and any kind of bank driveway, we would pretend it was a wave. Then from there I kind of got introduced and saw more skateboarders. Like when you go to the beach, you would see people underneath the Huntington Pier skating, and so that's when I started doing more freestyle tricks, nose wheelies and tic tacs and handstands, headstands, and so on and so forth.
It was primarily just like flat ground, like freestyle skating?
Yeah, kind of flat ground freestyle things and
slalom and stuff.
Yeah, and then, but our group of guys, we rode a lot of hills, a lot of streets. Like I grew up on my hill that I grew up on was a 55-mile-an-hour hill. Once you got urethane wheels.
Oh, geez.
In the car?
Yeah, but we would bomb hills on clay wheels, and I actually skated Mount Baldy Pipeline on clay wheels.
So for kids that have never, like, pretty much, I think a lot of us haven't ever experienced before. What's it like to actually like skate clay wheels compared to like kids that don't know now your wheels are made out of urethane versus clay is like.
Any little crack, any little rocky hit, you're going down.
It probably just blows up on you.
Yeah. Plus, there wasn't precision ball bearings at that point, so those individual ball bearings, so it'd be 8 balls to each side of the wheel. So 16 little ball bearings or BBs that you would put in, that you would have to crank on your little nuts to make you just get them just right so they wouldn't fall out.
Oh, geez. Which I'm
sure so sometimes you'd be going down the street, next thing you know, you see all these ball bearings like scattered on the ground, next thing you know, slam.
I'm sure that's probably at the bottom of like every pool and bowl. As
I guess, if you gone roller skating, a lot of the roller skaters had clay wheels.
Yeah.
The cool thing about clay wheels is they would leave marks on the pavement, so you can kind of like skate down the hill and then look up and kind of see like your line. It's kind of like how you go snowboarding, you do a line, you look up and see where you came down. That was the cool thing about clay wheels.
That's sick. Well, so you were probably got into like competing and stuff on back when it was still flat ground, like slalom and freestyle.
Yeah,
you remember your first skate contest?
I'm my cousin was seeing this guy, and he came over to my house because he surfed and he skateboarded, and it ended up being Dale Smith, Sausage Man. So he kind of took me under his wings and taught me how to freestyle, and he knew like all the top guys back then. He knew Russ Howe and Skid Hitchcock and Fred Favell and so he would take me to all these well-known spots where everybody would hang out, and so
or the spots
that,
like ditches.
well, ditches like the Vermont Drop was a big ditch in Carson, and we would go skate Huntington Pier, and then we found where all the schoolyards that the Dogtown guys skated, Paul Revere, Cantor, and all that. The funny thing is we always heard the Dogtown guys were kind of gnarly because, like in surfing, all the locals are very protective of their spots. And then in Santa Monica was POP Pier, so you know that you couldn't just go to POP Pier and surf. So we kind of took that same theory of their schoolyards. So we would go and watch them skate during the day, but we would leave our skateboards in the car, and then we would come back and skate at night or by the full moon, and we'd figure out all the lines they were doing to where. And then, I mean, when you skate at night and by the full moon, you learn where every single crack in that bank is.
Yeah, you're skating Jedi mind.
Yeah, so we would poach a lot of people's spots.
Could they tell
Either by the full moon or at night by lanterns and stuff? And then we would get their spot wired, and then we would go during the day. So they kind of figured out that maybe these guys grew up here or lived here or something,
Yeah, once you showed up during the daylight and you were able to show all the skills you learned in the dark.
Yeah.
Could they tell that you guys were like skaters when you showed up to survey it the first time? Or back then, could you tell people who are skaters from other skaters? Now it's you can kind of tell, but you almost can't tell a little bit at the same time.
Not really. I mean, I think everybody just looked more like surfers than anything else, rather than skaters. I don't think skaters had that look till probably 76 or 77 when there was more of an industry or more contests and all that. I skated all the contests except for the Del Mar Fairgrounds. And I was never very good at the contest compared to the guys that I was competing against. Because back in the day, the freestyle guys, Ty Page was the guy that was winning them, Russ Howe and Skid Hitchcock and Torga Johnson and that whole crew. And then when the Z Boys came, they came and did the low pivoting turns and they weren't really per se doing freestyle tricks. They were just skating the skateboards completely different, more surf orientated, more surf style, low driving G turns, and
it was obvious.
Yeah, stuff like that, and to where I was trying to do the one-footed nose wheel manuals. They call them manuals now. Wheelies, we used to call them wheelies back then. And 360s and handstands and headstands and V-sits and stuff like that. And then Skid Hitchcock taught me the gorilla grip, where you grab the nose and tail by curling your toes underneath your deck, and you lift up the board off the ground, kind of like an ollie.
Skating barefoot back then, right?
Yeah. I didn't skate shoes until after the skate park got built, where you had more shoes.
What came first, grip tape or shoes, or did they come at the same time because of the grip tape?
Well,
that you saw.
Yeah, I mean, we had that crappy grip tape that people would put back in showers, so it's kind of that rubbery grip tape, which never worked very well.
Okay, but you could stand on barefoot without ripping.
Yeah, barefoot, we would just use surf wax. We felt like we were surfing.
That's crazy. Can you imagine trying kickflip?
Yeah.
Well, that's sick. So how did that change, like, morph from like being kind of flat ground, like being maybe stiff and more old school on the board, to like skating pools and stuff like that? Like, what was your first time skating a pool, and how did that transition occur?
I looked over my fence and my neighbor's pool was empty. And so we just thought it was a wave, is what we did. And
Had you seen anyone do that before?
no, not at all.
That's
Even when we started skating banks and all that, I never saw anybody skate banks. I mean, Skateboard Magazine didn't come out till 1975 sometime, and I think the first one was Greg Weaver on the cover carving halfway up the pool, and so. Yeah. That's what we did. We kind of just like carved the scum line for the longest time, and then we kind of figured out. Then we saw I saw Waldo Autry go over the light.
Like carve up and kick turn over, or it's like carve over the light.
Yeah, carve over the light. So then we got to do that. We got to carve over the light. All right, let's try and carve over the stairs now.
Which is buck, even having seen people do it for years and years and years, and then like going and doing it for your first time is still like an insane feeling. So I can only imagine being like, well, maybe we could do that. Let's go see if it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, everything, every day was kind of trial and error. I mean, even like bombing a hill on clay wheels was pretty intense.
Yeah.
And then when the urethane wheel came out, that changed a lot. And then all I remember is when the magazines came out, we would see photos in the magazine of people, and automatically we'd go, okay, we got to go do that, And so we saw someone cover a light, so we had to cover a light. We saw someone go over the deck box, we had to go deck box. There was an ad with Dennis Schufelt going 40 miles an hour on a skateboard. So, we got to be able to go 40. We got to be able to go 50. So, but I remember when before we started downhilling, just to try and go 40 miles an hour to see what that felt like, my buddy had a motorcycle, so we would get pulled with this motorcycle going 40. So you could feel what 40 miles an hour would do.
Yeah, when you just let go and like chill if you wanted, rather than
just
buckled up.
And then at
that's
the
still
same
so
time,
gnarly.
Yeah, at the same time we were all water skiing too, and so we would put a rope on behind his motorcycle and go to the San Anita Mall at night when there's no one in the parking lot and just get pulled with a rope, and then of course he would just crank a turn and you'd get whipped around the corner. You'd be just holding on for dear life.
Well, not to bounce around too much, but that kind of coincides. When did you start snowboarding? Because you say you guys have water skiing equipment, like surfing and skating, like you're kind of doing everything a little bit.
Well, I got signed with Sims, and Sims was developing the snowboard, so he called me one day, and I drove to Santa Barbara, and he showed me this yellow plastic, kind of looked like a cross between a longboard and a surfboard, and had a deck on top of it. And so he gave us a couple, and we would we would ride it down the sand dunes, and then we went up and tried it.
Back up, it had like a deck on top of it, and there's a long thing underneath. So like originally it was almost like kind of what snow skates are right now, like a really big one of those.
Kind of, yeah. It was a plastic molded board,
Okay.
So you would put the skate deck on. Of course, the first time you ride it, the nose would bend up, so you'd have to put a piece of wood there so the nose wouldn't like bend over.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And that was even before bungee cords, and then we all figured how to get bungee cords to get on to hold your feet in. We all had surf leashes on, and I can remember just going up to Big Bear and just hiking in someone's backyard and riding down.
Well, yeah, we got people sending some questions in.
Good on, Max.
We got Ingersoll's. Speaking of Sims, any idea of if the Pure Juice documentary movie will ever get done?
Yeah. I think it'll get done if they get financing. You know, it just it should get done. I mean, Sims was kind of ahead of his time. You know, with Burton and Sims at that moment. You know, and Sims was more of the freestyle orientated, where Burton coming from the East Coast, they were more of a slalom and downhill type thing, you know. But
sick. We got some other questions on here. Kind of going back to the pool skating days. Max Danon, what's up, Max? He's a former Skate Academy alumni. He wants to know, how did you guys find backyard pools?
you just go in people's backyards.
Man, that's a good segue. How?
I mean, for us, I like I said, I grew up on a very hilly environment, so we can go on top of the hill and kind of look down, and you can kind of see pools. But once you find a couple of pools, you kind of have that, as a skater, you have that feeling, right, Jamie? You just have a feeling there's something around here to skate.
Where the spots are.
You know, and so a lot of times you'll see like a pool slide or whatnot. And, yeah, you just kind of venture into people's backyards.
Well, you figured out a way to get paid to do that by the people and to have them welcome you into their backyards, correct?
Well, kind of. Well, you know, we found out that people in Beverly Hills and Hollywood would go on vacation for months. They would go to Europe for a month, or you would find out when people would go on vacation, and so you would sneak in their yards and drain their pools, and of course, a couple of times we got caught, so we had to figure something out. And I said, dude, we should just make a fictitious pool company and put a little sign on, serviced by IPS, and just go drain the pools, and then come back 2 days later. You know, you drain the pool and you find out where you can sneak in the backyards or what have you, and you kind of scope out the neighborhood and neighbors.
Is this totally unbeknownst to the people living in the houses? You just like go and put a sign up and start draining it, and they're like, oh, the pool guy must be here.
Yeah. A lot of times the house were vacant or they were gone, and then
okay.
And then you would find out, you would find a lot, back in the 70s, they had the water drought. So
yeah,
you couldn't afford to fill your pool. So we would find like these half-empty pools, and so we would knock on their doors and say that, hey, we're commissioned by the city to come and drain all the pools that have all the mucky water to keep the mosquitoes down, and so on and so forth. And
that's ingenuity. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of can scope out the houses and who lives there, and you can say, well, these guys are like, 20-something, 30-something. I bet you can get in their backyards by buying them a 12-pack of beer or something.
Yeah.
Some were pretty welcoming. Others were not. Did you
have any negative run-ins? I'm sure there's.
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely been chased out by gardeners with machetes and weed whackers and all kinds of stuff.
Was anyone ever stoked? Did anyone ever come home and be like, "Whoa, this is sick"? They probably
a couple. Obviously, some of the well-known pools that you saw photos of the thing. those were the people that were pretty welcoming.
Yeah.
But back then, when you found a pool, you kind of kept it pretty quiet. Like there's a pool in Hood River that we've skated for the last 5 years that I know just me and 3 other guys skated every summer.
Yeah, this is news to me. Where's this pool, man? What's up?
Yeah, well, it kind of
that's how it goes. Though you have to keep it like that.
Yeah, well, Google Maps is a good way to find pools.
There you go. Let's leave it at that. Kids on quarantine, get on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Pick up your neighbor's pool.
And then when I was getting paid with Sims and all that, then we would go rent a private plane and fly around LA Basin with a Thomas Brother map book and kind of jot down where all the empty pools were.
That's crazy. So you guys got like militaristic about it almost. Like you guys had like planes involved and stuff like that, and you're flying around like looking for spots.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Hey, Wally.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Wally, explain to him how hard it is to find the pool when you see it in the air to when you actually get back on ground.
That's fucking nuts, Well, that's kind of why we had a Thomas Brothers map book, so we could kind of say, okay, we're flying right over Sepulveda Boulevard or something, and on the right 2 blocks over there's the pools. But even still, it's super, super hard.
I bet
I mean,
like, oh my god.
when you look down from an airplane versus at ground level is completely different. All you can do. I think it's easier now, but all you can do is look for landmarks.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, pools like the finding the golden egg.
Yeah, and everyone's a little different too. So it's,
totally.
Everyone's got something different to offer and stuff. So back to like how you got the nickname Wally, like because the pool's being shaped the same and stuff. How I also interpreted that as deriving from you carving up onto the vert of the pool, which is like the wall, or was it going around the corner? What's up with that? That from the horse's mouth.
It was actually prior to even finding pools. At the time we were skating the Burger King. It had this little 1 foot tall bank along the parking lot that we would just kind of surf it. And then we would go and skate our high school, Mark Keppel High School. And Mark Keppel High School had this wall that had maybe like a little 6-inch tranny at the bottom. I think it was more the asphalt kind of buckled more than a tranny, and then the wall went up 3 feet, and then it angled 45 degrees, and it went up. So we were trying to ride up it and do an off the lip. An off the lip is a kind of a surfing move, and so we would kind of bash the wall and see if we can go up 3 feet, which we probably never did. Probably went up a foot, But at the time, I made it, and I made it a couple more times, and so my buddy Zach just pointed at me, Wally, and so that's how my nickname started. Wally. It wasn't that I was trying to invent a new trick, and it was probably 20 years later that someone gave me the credit of inventing the wall ride.
That's crazy. So,
but it's kind of stoked now to see if the guys actually doing wall rides both on skateboards and snowboards and skis. It's insane.
Yeah, and the places it's been taken is not like doing it down like 12 stairs, like over the wall
right.
and stuff like that. Like, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
But, dude, I'm sure it's felt gnarly back in the day just the same. So it's crazy. It says also you're credited with like being one of the first dudes to do backside airs.
Yeah, that was it's so funny because I saw thank you, Steve Caffey. we went to a skate park and I saw Steve Caffey like just jumping out of the bowl and landing on the deck.
Okay,
and
like flat outs.
we were all kind of doing that, and then I kept going. There's got to be a way to go up and come back in. There's got to be. We got to figure out how to do that. And when Reseda Skate Park was built at an old A&W root beer drive-in place where, kind of where you drive in, you order, and they'll bring out your roller skates, your burgers, and all that. So they made the snake run at Reseda, and so you would push and carve this bowl, and then the second one, I kind of learned that I could go up it, get in the crouch, grab my nose, and go up and just let centrifugal force take me up and bring me back in. And
coming in fakie, or you're going backside?
Backside. So I was actually blooping it in this corner. I don't have there's pictures on my Instagram on it, but so I actually kind of did it.
You're doing it on the corner, so you're going like one wall.
Yeah, like this.
Like a flip.
Like the bowl's like this, right? And everybody was just carving the bowl, and I came up and looped, and then kept going.
That's buck. That's like that's not even like most people nowadays. Your first backside air is like early grab melon, like 5 over top.
And so. And that was grand opening Reseda in 1976.
Damn.
So I think there were people who were trying airs, or we didn't know that we were trying airs. That we weren't intentionally going up. I mean, yes, I intentionally tried to go up, go out, and come back in. And so my first airs were like 1.5 feet, 2 feet out.
That's buck. That's insane. My first by the way, they were like the first airs.
Yeah, I mean the boards were like 6 inches wide too.
Jeez.
Let me see if I can find a photo.
Well, that's one of the questions I had for you, because like I'm more of a street skater, and I'm kind of like getting into transition more nowadays, and I'm starting to mess around with airs. So it's like coming into it, it's terrifying. Like the actual concept of going above the coping is like such a mental barrier. So like, what did you guys do what was in your head while you're doing that? You're just like, screw it, I'm gonna buckle up and hold on and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, you weren't scared to fall. At least I wasn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, doing airs, the worst thing is to do is hang up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody fears. At least doing backside air. Frontside airs, you kind of, people pull out too much, so you rarely see people hanging up in frontside airs.
Yeah.
You see people hanging up all the time doing backside airs. But yeah, I never was afraid to fall, or falling was never in my mind that I was gonna fall. I always hung on till the bitter end, and if I fell, I fell.
Kind of just like focus on making it, and just what happens. Well, respect, dude. Props.
But,
you have a photo of an old school boarder you're trying to sauce up for us there?
I am. And I it's just pretty far on my feed, looks like.
Well, hey, while you're rolling through there, we got one more question. Cal wants to know, have you probably met Cal during the summertime, I believe. He says, I have a question. What are some of the things that help the transition from full skate rat to somewhat of an adult? I think what he means by that is like, how do you mature as a skateboarder?
How do you mature? Are we mature?
We don't. Well, that's actually a good point. Skateboarding's somewhat young in the sense that the first wave of skateboarders are still skateboarding, some of them, and respect to you for keeping that going. So what can we do to follow in the footsteps and help to push that on our end? what have you learned and what's working for you?
Well, I don't think you can push anybody to become a skater or want to skate. It's just something that is in each individual's DNA. That for me, truthfully, for me, I wanted to be a team jock. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to do team sports. And when I got into high school, all my coaches go, "Why are you going to come out for football? You're so small. If you made the team, you're just going to sit on the bench." Same with basketball. You're too short. You're just going to sit on my bench. So
it's not very motivating.
Yeah, and so that's when I took up surfing, and with surfing, skateboarding felt like surfing when you weren't at the beach. So for me, it was just all about having fun, and I never knew that there was a skateboard industry. I never knew that people were sponsored skaters. I just wanted to skate, and I just wanted to skate to improve my mindset to be able to surf better, and so I was more pertaining to surf on my skateboard, so even when I got the first picture in the magazine, even at that point, I still didn't know that there was a skateboard industry. So
really,
yeah.
When did you start to discover that, and how did you first get involved in the skate industry?
I was up in Santa Barbara, and I was just about ready to sign with Sims, and we were skating the.
Was that through contests and stuff that they knew who you were and stuff?
No, it just happened to. They posted that picture right there behind me.
Yeah.
This was my first photo.
That's sick.
That was the first photo that I got it in the magazine, right? And so.
Are you grinding on that? How do you? Those trucks are so narrow. Are you able to grind on that, or?
No, what? I don't know. I don't know if you actually ground more so than you got more one wheelers than you did grinding.
Which seems so much.
See, you never know when you're gonna eat shit.
Oh, I hope you didn't sacrifice the wall hanging for the live stream.
And so, and that particular picture, I met Waldo Autry, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna go to this new skate park, Anaheim skate park, that's been open for a photo shoot." So I followed him there, and he was there, and Stacy Peralta, Rodney Jesse, Greg Weaver, Gary Cicero, Mike Williams, and they all had their G&S jersey or Brew jersey or Sims jersey, and the guy who was running the whole program says, "Hey, what are you doing here? You don't belong here." So he kicked me out of the park, and Waldo said, "Hey, I have a Sims jersey in my truck. Go put it on." So I put the Sims jersey on, snuck back in, took some more runs, and then I got kicked out again. And then the photographer came up, "Hey, I think I got a couple of good shots. Do you want to give me your name and your phone number?" So I wrote down my name, my phone number, and then we just kind of went on our way.
It's barged their photo.
Yeah, probably 4 months later, my dad goes, "Hey, this guy by the name of Warren Boaster's on the phone." I said, "Who's fucking Warren Boaster?" And so I get on the phone. Hello. He goes, "Hey, I'm Warren Boaster. I took photos of you at Anaheim Skate Park." and I got this great shot of you. You know, can you meet me at the Denny's off the 57 freeway in about an hour? I said, yeah, sure. So I had to talk my dad into driving 35 minutes to this Denny's to meet Warren, and he had skateboard magazine that wasn't stapled, and it had all the printing stuff on the side, and
It was like the one before they would print it.
yeah, you know, and so he
Rough
opened up the center spread, and so that was a center spread.
Damn.
And I said, sweet, you know. And then a week later, my dad answered the phone again and goes, hey, some guy by the name of Tom Sims is on the phone. I said, Tom Sims, what? And so I get on the phone, and if you ever met Tom, he's super, super hyper. Inouye, you gotta write for me. You gotta come up, blah, blah, blah. You know, 100 miles an hour. Okay, what? You know. So
How old were you doing that?
He bought me a train ticket from LA to Santa Barbara, and he just loaded me up with trucks and wheels and boards and jerseys. He says, hey, you're gonna ride for me. Sweet, okay, you know.
Done deal.
So now, going from making your own skateboard, now I have a dozen skateboards, you know. And,
how old were you during that?
And then another time we were up there, and we were skating the Charbol, and he comes running in and goes, come on, Inouye, you gotta go with me right now. So I jump in his car, we go, and he takes me straight to Santa Barbara Airport, puts me on this private plane with trucks and wheels and boards, and I fly to San Diego and get to San Diego, and there's Warren Bolster and Greg Weaver, Stacy Peralta, Tom Stewart, and a few other guys, and we're gonna go to the East Coast and do an East Coast tour for 2 weeks.
Was that your first tour?
Yeah. So we fly into Gaithersburg, Maryland. I call my mom. Said, hey, Mom, you need to call the school. I'm not going to be in school for 2 weeks. She goes, what? What do you mean you're not going to go to school?
She didn't even know where you were?
No, I said, oh, I'm in Gaithersburg, Maryland. She said, what? So my dad got on the phone, and I said, hey, Dad, I was in Santa Barbara. Next thing you know, I was on a private plane, flew to San Diego, got a commercial airline, and I'm going to tour the East Coast of Skateboard Magazine for 2 weeks. He said, okay, well, have a good time, and I'll talk to you when you get home.
That's so sick. Did they have any like perception of what this meant at that time, or like?
I think my dad did. You know, I mean,
because it's still like not viewed as a toy, right? It's like it'd be like today being like, hey, I'm gonna go on a frisbee tour of the East Coast.
Right. You know, like I had a lot of friends that were probably as good or better than I was skateboarding, but their parents wouldn't allow them to go skateboard. Okay. And so when I got home after the trip, my dad sat me down and says, hey, looks like this skateboarding thing's gonna pan out. Maybe you should chase after it and make something of it. I went, what do you mean by that, Dad? So I think these companies will pay you to ride that thing. I said, really? You gotta be kidding. He goes, yeah, you know what? You should probably even drop out of high school and chase this. Because at that time, Sims was kind of sending me a few different places.
You're starting to tour around. How old were you? Early high school age?
Yeah, I was going to turn 18.
Okay.
I was 17.
Okay.
And so I called Sims and says, hey, Sims, my dad said I should drop out of high school because he said you'll pay me to ride skateboards. Says, okay, let's do this. And that's how that came about, getting a contract with Sims.
That's so sick. That's crazy. And then you're touring around doing the contest circuit after that. And
yeah, you know, I did all the contests, but I found out pretty early on that I sucked at contests. You know, and my whole philosophy in skateboarding was to make it look easy. You know, I was definitely taking the path that Jerry Lopez did, you know, remain calm in the most intense situations. And so I think I made it look too easy as to where other guys, like when you see someone do just like say a frontside grind, they kind of sketch out. It looks way more gnarly than a guy who does a perfect grind, right?
Yeah, I feel you.
And,
It's like they're really pushing it or something.
yeah.
Your
So-
style is too good; it bit you in the butt.
Yeah, you know, and at that time I was starting to get a lot of coverage in the magazine, so a lot of shops were bringing me out to do signings, or I would do shows at amusement parks or other skate parks. So I found out early on that I can make guaranteed money by going out and doing demos versus the competitions.
Okay, and those are probably guaranteed good time too, because you know what you're expecting, and everyone's gonna.
Yeah, you know that they pay for your flight, they pay you to put you up, and you make X amount of dollars per day.
Yeah, that's sick.
You know, it's to where a contest. What if you won a contest? You win $1,000? So
Depending, yeah, that's what it was back then.
yeah.
Well, kind of one of the questions I had for you, you know, you're known for having really good style and stuff, and part of that style was your arm being bent back when you do the laybacks. I'm sure you've talked about so many times over the years, but I just wanted to like touch on it a little bit. What is the story behind that? Like, what happened? Was it
My arm here?
Yeah, which it looks sick. There's so many sick photographs where like I was watching the levelers of skateboarding, and people were talking about how they were trying to like imitate that style, and they couldn't quite get it to look the way that yours looks, just because they couldn't. But they were trying to. They wanted it. You had something that they all wanted a piece of.
Hi, Kelsey. How are you?
Nice.
I broke my arm when I was 5, and my dad would lift me on these rings in the playground, and I would hold on to the rings and then just fall off onto the rubber mat. Well, he bailed, and I got a couple of wooden milk crates and stacked them on top of each other and got on the highest ring and was just kind of hanging there and couldn't really sway my body to miss the things, and my hands just let go and I hit the corner of the crate.
Oh, geez.
And so this has been like this for all my life, pretty much. You know?
Well, the universe knew that you were going to do some sick laybacks in the future, so it's like, here, we'll give you some more style points to add.
I guess so. You know, but it kind of ruined my career in gymnastics. You know, when you do
gymnastics,
an iron cross on the rings, it's kind of
it's not going to happen.
Screwed up.
That's beach gymnastics. You do some skating.
Yeah.
We got some more questions rolling in here. So Mike Hanley wants to know. He says, "There's one of the original Zephyr team surfers named Robert Dick, who's also on this call right now. Rob lives in Cannon Beach, so I was wondering if him and Wally knew each other."
Robert Dick.
Do you know Robert Dick, one of the original surf riders?
He was probably on the surf team then, huh? With Alan Sarlo and Nathan Pratt and those guys. I mean,
you're still pretty into surfing, right? You go out and you surf Cannon Beach regularly.
Yeah,
right? Still?
well, I used
on
to
the Oregon coast here.
You know, and
Oregon coast, cold water, big sharks, great surf. That's how it goes.
Yeah, you know.
I'm just getting into out surf that much.
That's all I tell people in Oregon's just got cold water and big sharks.
I remember I was talking to you about it a couple months ago, and you're saying, yeah, you're entering the food chain when you go in the water, but it's fun.
You are. I mean, we my wife and I opened a surf shop in Manzanita, and we would rent bodyboards and wetsuits. In our release form is we're not liable for wildlife attacks.
Oh my goodness.
And the parents would always ask, what's that mean? He says, well, you kind of going into the food chain. There are sharks out there.
That's a talking piece for sure. Every time. It's funny. Well, what else do we have on here? Elijah Teeter wants to know, thoughts of where skating is going. Do you have some insights to pass on to the younger generation?
It's going to the Olympics, baby.
Postponed.
You know, fucking skating's insane. What the guys are doing now? I mean, the stuff that Hosoi and Hawk were doing after us and McGill was kind of mind-boggling, mind-blowing. I mean, I always knew that a 540 was doable. We just didn't know how to do it, and we didn't have the equipment or what have you. But like the street skating now is fucking nuts, and the mega ramp and the bowl skating is just insane. It's just gonna get better and better.
You don't think it's capped out yet? It's just going to continue progressing. And
Do you think it's capped out? I don't think it is.
no, I don't think so. I think that
I mean,
if you look at what people have been skating, maybe for the last like 10 or so years, maybe in street skating, things have gotten gnarlier and larger, but trick selection wise and things are kind of somewhat similar-ish. Like you could watch like Flip's Sorry, which was like in, I think, 96, 97 or something like that. And it still carries weight for today. So like it's still the same style of skating, but I don't know. I don't really know what I think about it or where it's staying. It's definitely not going to be stagnant. It's going somewhere.
it's I mean, let me look at snowboarding. I mean, come on, Elijah. Did you ever think triple cork 1600 was going to be possible, or 1800, or whatever they're doing nowadays?
Yeah.
Like I'm waiting for people to start really spinning in the band skate park series, and yeah, it's intense. I mean, there's guys who could skate way better switch than most of us can skate regular,
Yeah, it's wild. Well, what was it like back when you were, we kind of left off when you were touring around and doing, your pro circuit and stuff like that. What was the skating level like back then compared to now? It's like, what was like a winning contest run back then? Or like the big gnarly stuff in the magazines?
34 one-wheelers in a row.
It's just kind of go back and forth for like 30 seconds, whatever.
Yeah, definitely in the bowl contest, front side, backside errors definitely were kind of winning runs, hand plants, rock and rolls. People do 50-50s nowadays like we used to do rollouts. Rollouts was our setup trick, to get
where you like pop up on the deck, kind of kick
right
and
on
pop
the
back
deck.
in. Okay.
And right back in, and Stropel, he was the one who was really breaking barriers. He was the first guy to really take the air from 1 foot into the 3, 4 foot, 5 foot era. He invented the alley-oop, and he invented the rock and roll board slide. And it's just, I think now it's what a kid can think creatively in his mind, and to know that it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
and to keep trying it until he gets it done. I think, I think definitely Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game helped the creativity a lot. I mean, there was times where you play that video game when it first came out, and just, God, I wish we could really do that actually when we go outside, and they end up doing all that.
You see on Metrogram every day.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So,
yeah. Well, sick. So, how long would you say you're like? It's kind of gray in skateboarding, but how long would you say your pro career ran for, where you were really in the mix? It says like you were runner-up for Skater of the Year back in the day. So, you're definitely prevalent for a long time, it sounded like.
I did it for 10 years, and then I decided to leave the industry. And
what shaped that?
All the parks were disappearing. Punk rock really gravitated towards skateboarding, and I really wasn't into the punk rock scene, and people were starting to dye their hair different colors, and I think through that the punk era were we don't give a shit, fuck you type attitude really gravitated towards some skaters, and it's from my eyes that I felt like skaters were getting kind of that bad rap from
towards like the late '80s, sort of.
Yeah,
the mid-80s.
you know, and then my skater Caster, he ended up getting cancer, so he shut down his surfboard operation and skateboard operation, and after that I just kind of decided to pursue different avenues.
Yeah.
Per se, but I mean I always skateboarded, but I just didn't do it for a living.
Well, Lauren says Wally's still pro. Well, Kelsey Claire wants to know, best guy to share some insight. With such long and successful skateboard career, what would you say is one of your biggest accomplishments?
Doing this talk with you guys.
Yeah. It's only progressing in a better direction, right?
Yeah. Definitely getting inducted into the Skateboard Hall of Fame is a very big
congratulations for that.
I mean, it's it validated what we did as teenagers. I think, but for me, my bigger accomplishment is when I meet that 50-year-old dude or 55-year-old dude that comes and meets you and is just so nervous and kind of quivering with his hands and that and he tells you that he had your picture on his wall when he was 9 years old, 10 years old, and have that kind of an impact for 40 years, that when he finally meets you after 40 years, he is still so nervous, and that's pretty awesome that you can have an influence on someone's life.
Yeah, there you go. You just right back to being 12 years old, fanning out on the side of the pool.
Right. Yeah.
That's so sick.
And for me, it's I'm just another skater like all you guys are, and so
definitely.
And I just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and that I had loving parents that told me to chase this dream. That really wasn't a dream of mine, but were dreams of my sponsors, I guess.
You just want to ride board, and there's an open door, and they're there to guide you through it. So that's awesome. That's
craziest place skateboarding has taken me, Matt. The Arizona Pikes, Arizona Water Projects.
Oh, you got to go skate that?
I got to go skate those.
Jeez, what was
we
that?
We got to drive a car in it, and so.
And with the full pipe?
Yep, they're 22-foot diameter on the inside. Is nuts.
Did you flip the car over?
No, we didn't. I flew out there with Tony Elvin, Bob Beniak, with Dick Wolf for the movie Skateboard, and they got permission to drive a car up into the heights and with the camera and film us.
That's so sick. That's so sick. That's once in a lifetime for sure. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, what's up, Max? Good to hear from you, brother. Hopefully get you out here skating soon when the world is back.
Skateboarding's taken me a lot of places.
Well, what did you kind of, obviously you're still involved in skateboarding. You've still had a board on Lifeblood, recently, and you're still doing stuff currently. But what else have you transitioned to outside of skateboarding once you kind of stepped away from being 100% focused on the pro circuit and such?
Well, skateboarding took me into my true love and passion was surfing, and through skateboarding with Caster Skateboards, Caster also produced some of the best surfboards in San Diego. So I got to learn how to mass produce surfboards. Um, I've been shaping for a little over 30 years. I haven't shaped not lately, but I worked for a lot of different surf companies, Rusty, OP, Wayne Rabbit Bartholomew, a bunch of guys where I airbrushed and fin and hot coated, and then
all over the place.
Also through skateboarding allowed me to travel and surf some of the best waves that I wanted to. You know. I also got into cooking. I've been a chef for a little over 25 years now.
Yeah, I think we're all getting into cooking a little bit right now.
Yeah, I was an art director for a publishing company where we published 17 different trade magazines in the automotive and medical industry, and so I kind of BS my way into that job. But I think through skateboarding and being the creative end, doing a lot of my ads and stuff, and working with Warren and Skateboard Magazine taught me how to put magazines together, and so that's how I got into the publishing. How you doing, Bryce? You see, Bryce came on. What's this other question here?
We got Dave Cameron, Facebook Live, says, I'm stoked. You've been one of my favorite skaters since I was a kid. 2 questions. Can you talk about how you were able to blend into different skate scenes so well, like Dogtown, Badlands, Down South, etc., and get along with everyone? And 2, are there any plans for future board company to reissue the IPS Stinger?
Yeah, I have. We're working on another. I'm working on another project with Lifeblood to do another of the IPS Stingers.
Which is that this board that's behind me here?
Yeah, so. It is. I think I'm going to do something a little bit different this next time around. But yeah.
I like this one. This one right here's got his notes on it. I've been in the office where Wally used to work.
Yeah.
So come pick up your junk, man. It's cluttering up the place.
I think you guys still have a clay wheel skateboard there. That's mine too.
Is that that's yours?
Yeah.
Okay, that's on our headmaster's desk currently.
We used to take
Jake,
that.
you want to pull that up for me?
Yeah, you should try and drop in the concrete jungle with that.
Oh God, I don't want to skate on it. I think it would blow up. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what clay wheels are like, this is what Wally was talking about. This is your board. This is sick. Tell us about this board. It looks super old. Is this something that's like, is this the special
maybe? Right? Gotta be 73. But that's what we rode right there.
That's crazy. It's got bushings and everything. The bushings are super stiff.
Chicago trucks, I think it is. Yeah.
It says Mark Gonger.
Yeah, he was a guy. He was a guy who I grew up with.
Okay, it's carved in on this. We're gonna have to keep. Dude, you gotta come pick this up, man. This sounds like it's sentimental. This is like your old skateboard.
Yeah. I guess I meshed with all the different scenes, like the Dogtown, the Badlands, and Down South, because I think I came into their areas with a lot of respect for what they did, and among that I poached most of their stuff at night, so I knew how to skate their spots, and but I was very fortunate that my manager at that point in time was Mike McCoy, Mike McCoy he delivered court subpoenas for 32 different attorneys in LA. So he would drive Stropo and I to all these different skate parks in different areas. He would drop us off at like Marina Del Rey, and then he would go deliver court subpoenas for a couple hours and then pick us back up, and then we would have to go out to the valley or somewhere. He'd drop us off somewhere at somewhere to go skate, and so I think that's kind of how I made my rounds all through LA Basin. So on any given day, I would go skate Reseda, which out in the valley, to Marina Del Rey, which on the coast, to Torrance, to Buena Park, and every night we'd always end up at Upland Skate Park. So we would skate, I don't know, 6-7 parks every day from the guy driving us around.
Sick.
So and then so, you know, I mean, when you go into someone's so-called backyard or the scene, you gotta go with respect. You gotta respect their property, you know, and you can't come in there being all egotistical and think that you're all hot shit and that you just because I'm Wally, I should be able to come and skate your spot. That's kind of not how it is. I mean, so
Preach it. Respect gets respect. Take notes, kids. Don't go in there with your earbuds in, mad dogging everyone.
exactly.
Doing your little front feebles in front of their little front feebles. Take your earbuds out, smile, say hi to each other. But well, I have a question for you, Wally. You know, we're doing this on the Wy'East Mountain Academy's chat, and it's somewhat promotional. So I want to know, what is your affiliation? What is your history with High Cascade and with Wendell's and what is now the Wy'East Mountain Academy?
Well, back in 1990, I worked at Timberline, the rental shop, and summer camp. Mike Estes and Tom Nordwall got me a job at the United States Snowboard Training Center, which was I believe maybe the second snowboard camp up on Hood. I think Rebel Skates had the first snowboard camp. Bob Gilly with the USTC had the second, and then it was Chris Carroll's camp. And through working there, Tim Wendell would bring 10 snowboarders out from Colorado with Kevin Delaney and Dave Dowd, and they would use our facility to run his camp. So he did that a few times every summer, and so that's how I met Tim, and then I moved away to the coast, and then I found out that he started Wendell's snowboard camp, and so I would always just go up and ride every summer, come up and
Live at the Oregon coast at that time?
Yeah, I lived in Seaside.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, so we moved out there in '91, and that's when I built Seaside Skate Park.
I was gonna say you had a hand in that as well, right? Which is the biggest roller coaster of a skate park I've ever seen in my life. No, I'm thinking of Lincoln City. Seaside Skate Park is also a good time though, as well. Yeah, Lincoln City.
I built an indoor spine ramp at in Seaside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Did you have anything to do with the Manzanita ramp that's out there?
Yep.
Yep. I was gonna say that Seaside ramp you built was super fun.
It was fun, wasn't it?
That was a good time.
Yeah. You know that ramp actually ended up at Wendell's.
It did.
Yep.
Where at?
When they decided to build the concrete park, Mary Blake called me and says, "Hey, it's in our notes that if we ever tear down this ramp, that you get it for $1." So I paid $1 for it, and we took a chainsaw and cut the flat bottom out, and this guy who had a logging truck grabbed the ramp and stuck it in my front yard, and then I asked Wendell if he wanted it, so we moved it from Nehalem to Wendell's.
Wow.
Where was it at Wendell's? Where did we have
It was I think it actually became part of that big Osiris bowl that was in the back there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so just kind of added to that.
Added to that, and part of it added to that, the little mini spine ramp that was next to the vert ramp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it just kind of chopped up and put kind of a little bit of everywhere.
I wouldn't be surprised if parts of that park are in the concrete park, because I dissected the concrete park with all that old coping. Like the radiuses for all that steel and stuff is actually in the concrete park.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
I'm pretty stoked that I was the first one to build out Bob.
Yep, I was there with you. You were teaching me to build stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, for anyone that lives under a rock and doesn't know who this is speaking along with Wally, it says Lauren. It's actually Jamie Weller. He's on his girlfriend Lauren's computer. Jamie built all of the concrete park that's outside of the campus here at Wendell's, and has worked hand in hand with Wally for a long time. So
Well, I worked under him doing the first build I ever did at Wendell's that he's talking about. When Bob went from empty to actually having the first wood ramps. Me, you, and Chris Devereaux, and a couple other randoms. Yeah, it was a good time.
That's super sick.
Right.
So yeah, Wally, you've been involved with camp for a long time. Then, so what different roles did you fulfill up here? Because I think you had a couple different hats, right?
In 2005, I was the skate coach, but the winter of 2005, the snow was super fucking crappy, and so I believe he's had super low sign up for summer camp 2005. So Tim kind of came to me and says, like, I can't afford to pay you anymore. So, but you know. You know, and then I came back in 2010 to run the kitchen.
Okay. Yeah, because you're chef extraordinaire, and that's I want to give room here to do a shameless plug. Where can we get some of your hot sauce? Because we see your hot sauce here at the academy. We see it up at Timberline. It's the best hot sauce I've ever had in my life, and I consider myself a connoisseur of the sorts. So where can we pick some of this stuff at?
Right now, you really can't pick it up anywhere. You can get it. Yeah, the best thing to do is just contact me and I can send you some.
All right. So anyone listening into this or watching this in the future, hit up Wally at what is it? Is it IPS Wally? Is that your Instagram?
Yeah, IPS_Wally.
IPS_Wally.
You can also go on to Wally's Pepper Sauce on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, Wally's Pepper Sauce. Delicious sauce. So
Wally's Pepper Sauce was developed at Wendell's in 2014. It was session 2, 250 campers.
Was it out of necessity to mask camp food?
It kind well.
Camp food's great.
I would go down to cash and carry and get those big bottles of Tapatio, and of course I forgot to up it for session 2, and Chase Birch at the time was running camp, and so we were out of hot sauce, and I think I worked 4 in the morning till 8 at night, and went to go skate the concrete jungle, and Chase comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I got a great idea. You should make your own hot sauce. You should make it, bottle it, I'll market it, and I'll sell it." I said, "Yeah, whatever, Chase." So I went home and I Googled how to make hot sauce, and said, "Okay, that's not that hard." Well, the next day, our produce delivery came, and I had got red bell peppers for dinner. So once they come in there, I go to find the red bell peppers, and there's no red bell peppers, but there's these red peppers, Fresno chilies. And so I call Dale, guys, hey dude, where's my red bell peppers? You sent me this box of red peppers, He says, oh, that's what I thought you wanted. No, I want bell peppers. So he brought me bell peppers, and he was going to pick up the other peppers. I said, no, don't pick them up. I'll figure something to do with them. So I kind of just stuck them in the walk-in. It was another 14-hour day, and I went into the walk-in and said, what's this box? And it was the box of peppers. So I stayed up another 3 hours and made hot sauce. Filled all the Tapatio bottles up. And so the next day, everybody's going, dude, we're so stoked. You got the hot sauce back in. And I said, yeah, pretty good, isn't it? He goes, yeah. And then I told him that I made it. So that's how Wally's pepper sauce came about.
Before organic, through sleepless nights and skateboarding.
Yep.
In wrong orders.
Yep.
Now we have dang hot sauce. Well, sick. Thank you, Wally. Well, yeah, we're kind of coming up on almost an hour and a half here. So does anyone else out here listening right now have any last minute questions for Wally before we kind of button this thing up?
Can you guys hear me?
We can. We've got DJ on the mic here. DJ.
I've been trying.
What's happening, brother?
Nothing much. I've been working all day, and then my buddy and my dad were working on my mini ramp while I was at work, so it was kind of cool to come home. And then it was cool to listen to your stories, Wally. Looking at pools from the air and stuff. Like, that's sick and cool stuff. But I have a question. With your arm, how do you deal with swell bows?
DJ is battling swell all year.
Yeah.
How do you deal with them?
Yeah.
I would just say you just man up and handle the pain and keep painting.
Just keep
Very
going.
good, DJ.
Because, it's swellbles and hippers, right?
Yeah.
Is a hipper or swellball going to stop you from skating?
No, but my ankle does sometimes.
Well, mine does too.
Yeah. Rico.
I mean now there's I'm a full believer in the CBD creams.
Yeah.
That really helps a lot. Ice.
Yep.
Ice is another good one.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice buckets.
Yes,
I have a
Wally,
question for
pepper
Wally.
flavor. I just did a ginger turmeric hot sauce.
That sounds bomb.
Sounds so good. I've had your hot sauce at Raptitude.
Yep.
All right, someone else said they had a question in there. Who else do we have?
Bryce.
Is it Bryce?
Yeah, it is me. My screen had just frozen. Wally, I have a question for you. How did Tech Deck Bowl happen? What's the story behind that?
I think I have mine too.
How did that happen?
At the time, I believe Warren Bolster passed away maybe 6 months prior to it, and Michael Brooks from Concrete Wave approached me and Stropel and says, "Hey, I got Tech to recreate the Del Mar kidney, and that we would like to use your photos and stuff on and give the royalties to Warren's kids." And so since Warren was so instrumental on my career, I totally agreed and was like, yeah, stoked, and
Yeah.
And then Lance Mountain calls me and says, "Hey, dude, I see that they just recreated Del Mar kidney pool and Tech Deck. You should do well with that in your royalties." I said, "Well, I kind of gave my royalties to Warren." You go, "I bought my first house with Tech Deck's royalties on his first Tech Deck."
Oh, God.
But
Wow.
You got a lot of karma points on that one.
yeah, you know, I don't know if they produced a whole lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, so
I've seen a few of those things floating around.
Yeah, I happen
I'll
to
tell
be
you
in,
how
I happen to be in Target shopping with my wife, and I saw it on the shelf, and I grabbed it.
how long ago was that?
Yeah.
So
Hey, thanks for hopping on, Bryce. Honored to have
Cool.
you.
No problem. No problem. What color would people want to see, or what if we put out Wally's new board, what's everybody looking for? I don't even know what taste it is right now. Like, you want white, you want blue, you want, I don't know, tie-dye? What's good?
Go, son.
What do you think, Wally?
clear, no,
Clear?
clear plastic board, plexiglass board. I'm kind of thinking of actually a full bottom graphic this time around.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe a possibly a get a little bit different shaped.
Hey, Wally.
Yeah.
Did you ever skate the combi a lot? The very first
The original one?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we all had our hand in designing them. Oh yeah,
Wow.
we skated it every day. Think about the original combi had the full big giant 3-inch copy.
Yeah.
The first photo I saw of a slaw bear was you, Wally, at the combi pool.
Yeah.
In the slaw bear.
Slaw bear. It's a layback air.
Okay, perfect.
Slaw
So
bear.
crazy.
I know.
Or something.
There was no hand on the coping, though.
Yeah, I think actually Thrasher might have even printed that. No, I can't remember who printed that picture.
It's either Action Now
Wow,
or Thrasher.
guys.
I can't remember. Yeah.
So good. So smooth.
Yeah, the combi was sick. The original combi is way gnarlier than the combi now.
Let's see.
Yeah, so I've gotten to skate all 3 combis so far.
Hell yeah.
I can say first.
That's cool.
There you go, kids. Combi history, some future board design, industry insiders letting you inside the boardroom. Breskin Knights. Tom and but well, awesome, Wally. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and answer some questions. We're trying to keep these around like an hour and a half, so this will probably be about where we wrap this one up. But we'd love to have you on again in the future. You know, everyone's on quarantine. Hopefully this thing wraps up and the world goes back to normal here soon. But if it doesn't, maybe we'll have you on to host a cooking show. Some hot sauce tips with
Do one with
Wally.
you.
We
Next
should
one's
do
a cooking show.
that.